You also just buried another officer from Rio Rancho, Greg Benner.
Yes.
And so, you see that on the news, and it's just emotionally just devastating. I mean, to us. And it didn't really impact my family or me, but it's hard to watch. And so if there's anything that we can do as a state elected official or a state or try to help lobby for these causes, let us know. And we've made the connection here to help you somehow, some way, and contribute to your fundraiser and just help you somehow.
Yes. Well, in addition to going to local fundraisers, we have one coming up on Saturday the 14th from 10 to 4 in Rio Rancho. And another way that people can make donations to our organization is going to our website at newmexicocops.org.
Is that on your business card? Or you should actually repeat that again, and then also leave your number in case people would like to contact you and make contributions for your auction items and such. But go back to your website.
Website is www.newmexicocops.org.
So it's not just for the smaller rural areas or Albuquerque. It's for all of the cops in the state of New Mexico, whether you're a city, state, or county officer,
and including tribal officers as well.
I'll be darned.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
What New Mexico Cops does, the thing that we raise our money and all of our funds, we don't have an office, we don't have administrative costs. All of the money goes to our survivors, and what we spend that money on, the priority is getting survivors to retreats that are specific to their either family or coworker status. We have spouses retreat. We have a children's camp that is in Wisconsin. There's a parents retreat, there's in-laws retreats, there's coworkers retreats. And what those retreats do is they provide trauma counseling for them, and these survivors get tools. We were able to send Dean Miera's parents to the last parents retreat, and I was so glad that they went because they got tools and they were able to meet with other and make connections within their peer group to get support. And they're awesome. And the cost that we have to pay is to get the survivor to the retreat. COPS, the national organization, pays for the retreat. It pays for their lodging, their food, and the counseling and all the tools and things that they get at the retreat. But getting them there is the cost that our chapter puts in.
And that's probably not enough. You probably have to continuously raise money and raise awareness.
Yes. One of the things that we were working with Albuquerque, I just met with Chief Eden, and he is helping us by giving the officers an opportunity to donate through their paychecks through United Way campaign or payroll deduction campaign that allows them, they can't take their coworker out for coffee or a beer anymore, but they can give $5 or $10 every paycheck to our organization, and that goes directly to the families.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And just recently also, when you mentioned the chief, the recent tragedy with the road rage and the 4-year-old child, that's another devastating situation that happened. Yeah. And we talk about road rage, we talk about, and the officer who responds to that. There's also that aspect of, what you all witness, not you but your husband, your former husband, but, what they go through, what they see.
Yeah.
Is there some help for that, or is it only for survivors, or is there some sort of help for them?
There is something. We actually have 2 different retreats now. We have a retreat for just the coworker, the officer, but we also this year have a coworker for couples, and that includes the officer's spouse, and they went to it. We had an officer that was 10 feet from his partner when he was hit by a vehicle and killed right in front of him. And you just don't get back up off the ground and you're okay with that. And COPS, he's participated, he and his wife have both participated in the COPS organization, and I love to see the success stories like that.
And sometimes you think that being an officer, I know that it's probably difficult to recruit, the pay's not good, the salaries are not competitive, and then they have to commute, because the cost of living does get expensive in certain areas of this state. But you think about, do you even want to be an officer? Because look at, sometimes it seems like the criminals have more rights than the officers, And do you see that?
I see that. I also see, especially when I go to Police Week in D.C., I see the character and integrity in these people's lives and their heart and how they step up to the plate to help us. And they fulfill that promise to that officer that we'll always be there, you'll never be forgotten. And there's a specific character and integrity that goes into somebody becoming a police officer. And it's similar to a school teacher. You don't do it for the pay. They don't do it for that reason. And it all goes back to who they are as a person. I know with my husband, he was in the military, similarly to Dan Webster. He was in the military for years, and then he went into law enforcement when he got out. And it's just that community support, that state, that God and country thing that exists in people. And some people have it, some people don't.
And so the people that are becoming police officers, do you think they go into it with, the training they get, the awareness? Do you think there's sufficient training, to warn them and, caution? Or they know what they're getting into, you think, when they're going into it?
I don't think they have a clue what they're getting into, but that's just my personal opinion. I think every one of us should be life learners, and I think we should always want to have more education, more training. So I don't think there's ever enough training. I think people should always strive to be better, do more, learn more, and be those life learners. And so I don't know the status of, is this good enough training or not? I'm not familiar with the academy information like that, but I do think that there are people that run to the fire instead of away from it, and those are the people that are stepping up now when things are the worst for law enforcement and filling those academies. They're still there. There's still people that want to make their community safe, and they want to be part of the solution instead of the problem.
I know I'd want to live next door to a police officer.
Yeah.
But you also look at the other side too. There's the firefighters, the firemen too. They too put their lives at risk, and then they unite behind those firefighters and the tragedies that happen. I guess they do know what they're stepping into, they do know what that job's made of.
Yeah.
So is there anything you'd like to talk about your organization, the upcoming fundraisers you're going to be having besides the one you just mentioned? And is there anything you'd like to say to the public about, your position, what you do, and how the community can support you?
I think what's important, especially in the organization that I've been a part of, is that both locally and nationally, there's a need for a rebuilding process for the families and coworkers of officers that have died in the line of duty. And I think making better education programs for us to rebuild. I know in New Mexico they only cover up to a bachelor's, and to expand the education opportunities for us to rebuild. To make the benefits actually a benefit instead of an insult to the officer, and to make those what the officer thought they were getting into. I think that's important from a legislative position, to change that and make it better for the survivors. Because I think if an officer goes out there and they know their family's going to be taken care of, that's one thing that they can check off their stress list that they don't have to worry about when they're going up to that car is, you know what, I know that every time I go up to a car, it might happen, but at least I know my family's okay. And they shouldn't have that added stress.
Interesting. Yeah, you make a good point. And again, if there's anything we can do to help you this coming session, just let us know. We'll see what we can do to help. And just this program alone brings that awareness not only to the public, but to those that can make a difference, the lawmakers that can help. And it shouldn't always have to be, a paid lobbyist that gets that help for you. It should be just people like yourself. How did you get involved in being the president of this organization, or the chairman of the trustees?
I started in New Mexico. I went to one of my first meetings right after my husband died, and they sent me to a training event, and I was so excited about being able to take that and bringing it back to New Mexico. I think my goal is that as much stress as I went through, if I can make it easier for somebody else because of an experience I had and take that off of their plate, that's really important to me. So I got involved locally, and I was the president here for 8 years, and then I was asked to serve on the national board, where I get to make different influences from that perspective. And I think that COPS has been the one organization that has helped my family rebuild, both from education, from helping me fight for my own benefits, from helping my son when he was growing up to have those counseling options and peer support options. It's just a great organization.
And you were also the chairman of the grievance committee and the chairman of the performance evaluation committee?
Yeah, that's on the national level. When you're on the national board, you have to have certain responsibilities. So we have different committees that we're responsible for. And so the grievance committee deals with official grievances within the organization, because everybody has grievances within an organization this big. Somebody's going to irritate somebody. So that's the that's the committee that I get to be on.
Well, that's interesting to hear the stories at a national level too, because it happens throughout the country.
Yeah. And what's also really cool is that we get to draw from other chapters, and we work as a unit to talk about the different legislative changes and what's worked for you and what's worked for me, and to share precedent cases when it comes to the Department of Justice benefits. One of the things nationally that survivors are struggling with is the fact that the public safety officer benefit, the PSOB benefit, is taking up to 3+ years just for the survivor to get their death benefits. And that's a system that needs to change.
Yeah, they don't need money 3 years down the road.
They need it right then. And I know for us it took 8 months, and it wasn't bad at all. But now some of my survivors, it's taking 3+ years. I know a lady, it took her 8 years. And that your children are grown up by then. It's ridiculous. So those are things from a national level that we work with.
Have you had any success, getting things done? I mean, like you're saying, it takes 8 years, takes 3 years. I mean, have you moved a little bit forward with any of your efforts to try to get help, or are you just still waiting for somebody to see the light that you need the help?
We have an awesome executive director. Her name's Diane Barnhart, and she has been meeting with the Department of Justice to revamp that system and make it more streamlined. Locally in New Mexico, I know with our case for my husband's death benefits, we were able to change some of the statutes with our precedent case to make it so that officers, when they're on or off the clock, their family will be taken care of 24/7, at least with the workman's comp aspect of it.
Wow. And are there any other fundraisers you can mention real quick before, this way we can get the community involved? And
on our Facebook, we have a New Mexico COPS page, and that page we've listed. There's so many right now specifically for Webster. The one this Saturday is the current one we're working on. And the thing you have to remember too is everybody in our organization are volunteers, and the way you get into COPS is you have to lose an officer. So we're all survivors working through our own grief at the same time we're trying to support our organization.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much, and hats off to you for what you do, and I really appreciate you being here, and maybe you can come back and see how you're coming along, and definitely we'll see you back in January.
That'd be great.
All righty. Thank you for traveling here to be here with us today and working to help these survivors and yourself. And thank you for watching our program. If you'd like to be on this program, please give our office a call at 827-4533. Thank you for watching.